Howdy y'all, Fast Force 289, welcome back. In this video, I'll be working on this 2014 Ford Mustang. We'll be putting a spoiler on the rear trunk lid, so let's jump into it and get started. Okay, so here's the current setup and how the car looks. This is factory, just stock, never had a spoiler, so we're gonna go from this to this. Okay, so I got mine from MP Concepts off of, it's an MP Concepts brand. I ordered it from American Muscle online. It's the GT/California Special Style rear spoiler for 2010 to 14 Mustang. And it gives you pretty good directions on how to do it and all, and what it contains. Okay, so this is what the spoiler here looks like. And I want to show you this real quick because this is a real nice setup they have. It's self-explanatory on how this goes. So you can't put this together wrong. You can see here they got indentions in the spoiler itself with thread inserts with notches. All you have to do literally is just match up your piece. And it'll sit right in there just like it's supposed to for both pieces. So you can't put it together wrong. Now this is the hardware they give you in the kit. They give you 2 bags of these, and I made sure that they weren't different lengths or different threads. They're the exact same. They just separate them, so I guess you'll know you have this number or this set of number screws for putting them on, this spoiler itself, and then another set of number screws to put the spoiler onto the car. So you do have to drill holes in the trunk lid to mount this spoiler in order to actually fasten it down permanently. So, but I'm gonna go and get these put on first. I went ahead and put these on. I'm gonna go and get these put on. Now, also note, these screws were really tight going in here. And it almost feels like maybe they're cross-threading, but they start out really smooth. What I'm guessing is they're kind of like a lock screw in a way, or a lock nut in there. And they're tight like that, so then they don't back out over time with vibrations all going down the road. So let's go ahead and get these other 2 put on. These screws and a washer. It's a good thing to have a magnetized screwdriver, so then they will stay together to put them on. Because you have to go down inside these recessed holes here to put it together. So it's better if you have a magnetized screwdriver to hold it while you put it together. Okay, so I found the first flaw in this kit so far. Every one of them went on perfectly, everything lined up except for this one here. Now you can call this a nitpick, but it's just something I want to point out. So when you put this in here, look how the hole does not line up. You see the bolt hole? It doesn't line up. If you move it over to line up, now it's off of this. So not a big deal. I'm just going to take and drill the hole out a little bit bigger, waddle it out a little bit, and make it where to line up there. But that's just one thing to keep in mind that, you know, gonna have to modify this just a little bit. But that's the only one I've had to do so far, so not really that big of a deal. Just wanted to point that out. So you can see where I just waddled that hole out a little bit bigger, so now it'll line up like it's supposed to. Good to go. Okay, so they give you these rubber foam gaskets that you got to put on here. It's like a 2-sided tape kind of thing. So all you do is simply just match it up, punch the holes out. Rubber in really good so it sticks. Okay, so we got to open the trunk and go inside. You got to come in here and got to remove all these clips here. Remove this panel here down to access the holes to know where to drill and all that, and install the spoiler from the other side. So here's what I got so far. They give you these little strips here with a little sticky pad right here in the center that you can line up with the holes here and stick on this. Then you place the spoiler on the car where you want it, tape these down and remove the spoiler, and these stay in place to tell you where to drill the holes. I've already got them center punched and ready to drill. So I'm going to drill these out so we can go ahead and test fit the spoiler and see how it fits. Okay, so got it all done. Not some of my best work, but had to do some modifying here. Put the plug back in this factory hole, but the holes for the new spoiler lineups had to make it lower. Same thing here, I gotta touch this up, make that look better. These you won't see, I made these bigger so you can put the bolt and the washer through there, and then that's the factory spot. And that's how that side looks. See, the factory hole's supposed to be up here, but it doesn't match, so I had to come way down here to make it work. The good thing is the cover will cover these holes, but I got to figure out a way to cover these here up and touch that up, make that look better. But then this plug here will partially cover this hole at least, so I had to figure something out on that, maybe some RTV or something. I'll figure that out though. Now we can put this cover back on. All right, and we are done. So it turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm not real happy with the way these holes turned out. I should have figured out something a little bit better for this. I mean, it's fine, you won't see it, but I'm gonna try to get some plugs for this and touch this up. Maybe polish out some of these scratches and get a plug that'll fit in here, some kind of a grommet. This one I'm disappointed in, and it's not because of anything I did really, other than the hole being kind of sloppy looking, but it's because the factory spoiler, like this is a factory style GT California special spoiler, and it's supposed to mount in the center of this hole and then over there where I showed you earlier. Well, the hole in this spoiler does not line up, and you can't just sit there and say, well, I'll just re-drill the spoiler because there's a thread nut insert in there. So you can't do that. You can't move it back too far because then it's going to be hanging off. It might be even here, but then it's going to be hanging off up here. So the only other option you have at that point is to just bring the hole down, which now looks like crap underneath this plug because now you have this opening here. So that is a strike against the company that made this thing. It's a pretty good spoiler, all in all. I'm pretty happy with it overall, but that's one thing that I can't stand. So all in all, it looks pretty good. I mean, it does give the car a real sporty, kind of sharp look to it. And once it's closed, obviously you can't see it anyway, and it looks fine, but it's, yeah, that's one strike against them that they can definitely improve on that for sure. But other than that, I say everything else is pretty good on it. Now, what I did to figure out where to put it, because originally I was measuring out the holes, and that's why you saw the tape up here, which that's another thing. Pro tip, you always want to put tape down on paint before you drill it because it can chip the paint. And this is big enough, it'll cover it. But if you get a chip that's too big, depending on what you're mounting, it might not cover it. So keep that in mind. The tape helps keep the paint in place without chipping big chunks out. So what I did is, if you look at how these feet are kind of contoured to the trunk lid, well, what I did is, to find out where the spoiler needs to go, is I just set it up here and I slid it back and forth until it kind of, I guess, fell into place of where it's molded to those feet, to the trunk lid, and measured it on each side, made sure I had an even gap on each side here, and I measured from like right here to the edge of this on both sides, and make sure I had a nice even spacing side to side, and then marked the holes and drilled it with those templates that I showed you earlier that get stuck to the bottom of those feet. You just set masking tape down over it to hold them in place, and then you drill the holes like I showed you earlier. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it turned out pretty good, all in all, I say. Well, guys, that's it. Like I said, this was not one of my better installs. You know, sometimes dealing with these aftermarket parts, you got to do what you got to do. And unfortunately, you know, the holes on the inside look kind of crappy, but luckily they're on the inside. It's nothing that you can see until you open the trunk. And luckily, 2 of the holes that I had to drill are covered up anyway. So, or 4 actually. They're all covered up. It's just them 2, that one that dips down underneath the plug, and then the other one had to drill out. But, you know, it is what it is. Luckily, it's underneath, like I said, so you won't see it. It's not a big deal. The car itself looks pretty good. I think it turned out pretty good. And, so, yeah. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, and I appreciate that as well. Thank y'all for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the drop box down below, and I'll get back to you as always. And that's all there is for this one. So until next time, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.